Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello out there. Good morning, everybody. I hope your first cup of coffee has kicked in, or your bran muffin, or whatever the case may be. And it's an interesting seating arrangement we have here, so that everybody has to face us, and there's no backs to the podium and all that. That really works really well. But we're going to run a little experiment this morning, and I want everybody to take out their cell phone and turn it on, okay? Everybody, get your cell phone out on. Of course, don't have the ringer on, but get your cell phone out and turn it on. All right, we all ready? I want you to go to camera, hit your camera app. And once you're there, hit video. Okay, everybody ready? So we all want to start waving our arms back and forth and yelling, IYBA, IYBA. And when I say go, you video it, and then everybody posts it on their Facebook page, and that's social marketing and media marketing, and that's what we're going to be talking about later today. So you ready to start moving your arms back and forth and chanting IYBA, or Bob, whichever you prefer, IYBA, IYBA. Okay, now start videoing the arm that's, okay, video the crowd now. Take a panoramic shot. Wave to everybody. Oh, I guess I better do it too. And then post it and say, I'm having a great time at the IYBA East Coast Yacht Sales Summit. All right, we'll get all kinds of thousands of hits on that. I want to welcome you. I'm Bob Saxon. I'm president of IYBA, and I'm director of sales at Westport. And we've got our Facebook exercise out of the way. I want to first thank our sponsors. Paul, even if you're going to do it again, all right? But our sponsors, briefly, Robert Allen Law, our good friends, Marsh McLennan as well, Yacht World, who is not here today, but in spirit they are, yachtbroker.org, and boatdocs.org, which Paul is going to talk about in a little while. So I started making a little check-off list about our current situation in our particular market. We have the highest inflation numbers in 4 decades. We have interest rates soaring, a bear stock market, 20% drop correction, looming recession, the scarcity of sales inventory for you that are brokers out there, the war in Ukraine, gas, diesel, prices skyrocketing. Somebody told me yesterday that in Nantucket, a gallon of diesel is $14, okay? $14. And lest we forget, monkeypox, okay? Let's not forget monkeypox. However, this morning's paper, I always look for something topical to talk to you about. Recession may not be on its way, say economists, okay? And I read this with the first law of economics, of course, is for every economist, there is an absolute, equal, and opposite economist. So you realize that. But they say, the Associated Press says, despite the inflation squeeze, consumers, the primary driver of the economy, are still spending at a healthy pace. Businesses are investing in equipment, software, reflecting a positive outlook, and the job market is still booming, with hiring strong, layoffs low, and many employers eager for more workers. We certainly feel that at Westport. And our markets, I mean, my sales team says they haven't slowed down at all. I bet you a lot of you are feeling it. Even though the summer doldrums are setting in, despite all these setbacks, we are in such a resilient market. It's incredible, and we should all be thankful for that. We do have those headwinds. We have to face them. So what do? Sit around and do nothing about it? Well, that's why you're here today. It's time to retool your sales kit, okay? Good start for you, your presence being here. And we have an agenda. It's the most impressive and great agenda I've ever seen for one of these conferences. It's chock full of ideas and thoughts for you to take back, retool your sales kit, and get out there and talk to your customers. So I applaud your presence. We're here to teach old dogs new tricks. And we have an ambitious program today, and it's going to be broken into parts of 3 sessions in a break, then 3 more sessions in a break. And then we have, of course, lunch built into all that. And I'll give you lunch details in a little bit. And then we have 1 session after the afternoon break, and that's going to be our keynote speaker, Charles Payne of Fox, on the subject of making money, and I think that's why we're all here. That's one good reason why we're all here. Each session will allow for a certain amount of questions and answers, Q&As. So in your notebooks or in your remarkable pads or whatever you have, jot down some ideas and thoughts you might want to question the panels or the speakers. And right now, I want to introduce the Chief Operating Officer, his new title, of the International Yacht Brokers Association. Let's welcome Paul Flannery.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Am I live? Good. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming. Welcome. This is 2022. It is 35 years for the International Yacht Brokers Association, nay, the Florida Yacht Brokers Association. And, you know, I've been involved with the association for quite a while. I joined in 1993 as a broker. I was honored to be asked to run for a board position in 2009. I was on the board for 7 years and then was elected president, and I was president for 2 years. So I guess that's, what, 13 years now that I've been involved with what shakes here. And, you know, around the board table, we discuss on occasion what the purpose of IYBA or FIBA was when it first came to being. And I made a couple of phone calls yesterday to talk to some of the guys who were there at the beginning. Pete Woods and Jerry Hellrung were the two guys who really started this whole thing. And Bob Zarkin was a part of that mix back in those days as well. Bob, I'll be happy to report to all you guys, is 85 years old. He's living in Coconut Grove. He's having a great time. He's been retired for 4 years now. And he told me yesterday that we were just chatting about different stuff. He said, yeah, I got involved in, I invested some money in this thing called a venture capital fund. So I told him I'd report to the entire audience that he is retired but now a venture capitalist. And if anybody knows Bob Zarkin, you know that's the furthest thing in the world from what Bob Zarkin would be comfortable with is venture capital. He was our treasurer for many, many years, a great steward of the Treasury, and instrumental in making sure that we were economically viable in the event of any challenges. Speaking of challenges, 2021, COVID prevented us from having the Miami International, or the Miami Yacht Show. It wasn't, I'll get to that. We didn't have the Miami Yacht Show that year, so we lost a very significant part of our income. We get about 50% of our annual income from the revenue from that show. So not having that would have presented us with some significant challenges. The good news is we had some resiliency in our treasury. We were able to afford to operate without any hiccups whatsoever. And we even undertook, at the direction of the board, some new initiatives. So we spent a lot of money last year and didn't have any coming in. But it was all okay because the stewardship of this association over the many years has been responsible, and we had a treasury that we could pull from. So the boat show piece, one of our big income drivers, was a new thing this last year in Miami because it was the first time that we were in partnership with the National Marine Manufacturers Association in the ownership of the show, and it was all called Discover Boating Miami International Boat Show. The show was a huge success. Those of you that weren't there, be there next year because you're missing it. It was a really strong show. The revenue for us was up. Oh, it's time for me to get up. The revenue for the show was up from years past. We negotiated a new deal with regard to how we share in that, and it turned out to be a better revenue stream than we had hoped for. So we were very, very pleased with that, and it enabled us to continue to remain viable, to replace some of the funds in our treasury, and stay strong. So fiscal health, we're in very, very good shape. So what did we do with some of that money? I said that the board chose to make some investments in our future. So you guys know about yachtbroker.org. It's a product that we brought to market a couple of years ago, and it is the industry-owned database. It's the industry-owned multiple listing system. And there are other products out there that are called MLSs, but they're not multiple listing systems. They're actually member listing services. So good marketing and good play on lettering. but yachtbroker.org is the only one that's owned by the industry, and it's owned by you in this room, you members. The purpose is to have a centralized database as a repository for all of our listing data, and it can be disseminated where you choose it to go. Now, I say where you choose it to go with some caveats, because we do have an MLS committee, and the MLS committee is charged with helping you to understand from 30,000 feet the impact of some of the choices or some of the decisions that you make. So, for example, there's a big push right now. I sent a letter out to several of the public-facing sites at the beginning of June that said, we're no longer going to provide a feed of all the boats in our database to you, a public-facing site, as long as you engage in FSBO. If you engage in for sale by owner advertising on your public-facing site, we don't feel that it's in the best interests of our membership to provide you with all the data. Now, our members, some of the responses, well, look, I want to be able to advertise where I want to be able to advertise. So we have a structure in place where we're helping the members understand exactly what the impact is of your boats going into certain places. We don't want to control anything. We just want to educate you so that you have the best ability to make informed decisions. Garrett is our Mr. Wizard behind the curtain. Everybody in the brokerage side of the industry knows who Garrett is, and he's built yachtbroker.org. And Garrett's he's taking some well-deserved time off right now, but he'll be back at the end of the month. And when he comes back, he'll prepare some videos, and we'll be able to communicate that message more clearly to the audience so that everybody can understand very, very well exactly what's happening and exactly why we're doing this. July 1 is the cutoff date for those public-facing sites that do FSBO. So the long and the short of it is, the whole idea is for us to control our data, thereby we control our destiny. And that's extremely important for our industry. It's a message that I've delivered more than one time before, but the bottom line is, if we don't do that, we're at the mercy of what private enterprise tells us to do, and we need to collectively be in control of our data so that we're in control of our destiny, thereby remain viable. So what other pieces are important in that? Boat docs. So an end-to-end document processing solution that is owned by the industry and where your information is 100% secure. I take that back. There's nothing that's 100% secure these days in the digital world, as much as we might like that. The other day, Bob called me. Bob and I both have credit cards from the association. Bob called me and said, hey, what kind of an exotic pet did you buy for $31.17? I said, I didn't buy any exotic pets. Okay, call Chase. The card's been compromised. So we got the new card yesterday. I call up there to try to activate it. The lady says, I'm sorry, you can't activate the card. Mr. Saxon's going to have to call up and do that. But while I have you on the phone, Mr. Flannery, did you buy an exotic pet on June 7th? I was like, oh, crap. So even the best, security technologies of the major banks, stuff gets hacked. There's nothing you can do about it except react as quickly as you can. Well, what have we done? We've developed a product called Boat Docs. And Boat Docs, you've heard me talk about before. If you've read Compass Magazine, it's in Compass Magazine, the descriptions of it. We've been in beta. We are basically done with beta right now. The final phase of beta is to test our onboarding of the companies. You saw as you were coming in over in the corner, Bonnie Edson was there with a table with Boat Docs stuff, and she's here to answer any questions that you may have on your industry-owned document processing solution that allows you to shepherd every component of your deal from the listing to the closing. And it not only does all of your deal, I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened to us in the building of this platform. We were discussing with third-party providers how to do our electric signing component of it. And we wanted to do a plug-in. And when we shopped that, we talked to 6 different companies, and in March, what is this, June? Yeah, March of last year, we had decided that we wanted to use one particular e-signing platform. And in August, when we engaged with them to go into the sandbox environment to start to actually build it out, their price had increased tenfold. They went from 40 cents per signature to $4 per signature. And the average deal takes 27 signatures to get done. And that's if it's not an HMY deal. You guys who got more forms, you're 35 signatures. So what we decided to do, I came back to the board a little bit hat in hand, I'd say, Chuck, that we had a great solution and it's not going to work so well. And the board said, let's be smart, let's take complete control, and let's build our own e-signing solution. So it delayed our process a little bit, but it allows us to put our hands around it, in the deal in its entirety from beginning to end. So you know that it's secure. We have a cybersecurity company that is working for us as our cybersecurity officers. We're on contract with them. They look in on yachtbroker.org, on IYBA.org, on boatdocs.org to make sure that we're compliant, safe, and ahead of the curve as much as possible. The one thing that you can rest absolutely assured of is that your information will never be sold, marketed, shared. It is in there. We thought about how could we make the information sundown, or how could we make you take it back into your system and erase it from our servers. That's just not practical. We've got AWS is the largest server provider in the world. They're incredibly proficient at what they do, and it's a function of storing data that it would be foolish to try to do another solution. So the long and the short of it is, BoatDocs is up, it's running, it's working. We have some of the larger companies that have started onboarding and assigning a couple of their assistants in there to really, really stress test this, to start using their checklists and all the rest of it. What I started to mention was another very important piece of BoatDocs is that it's not just a document processing solution, but it's a business management tool for you. When, let's just use an example of a brokerage company that has 4 offices with 16 brokers in each of their offices and 4 administrators in each of those offices. So a broker can go into his office and log on to the system, and he can see a dashboard, he or she can see a dashboard of exactly what's going on in their business right now. All of their listings, the gross value of their listings, any deals that they have in process, what the gross numbers are that are represented in those deals, commission dollars, commission splits. You click on any of it and it drills you right down into the details of it. It'll show you what deals you have in process that'll close in 7 days, 14 days. Is it 21 and 28 days also, Bonnie? 30 days, okay. So what it does is it allows you to business forecast. It allows you to see what business you have in play, what listings you have. When you see you've only got 4 listings, you know it's time to get out there and get some more listings. You've sold everything. But it gives you an overview of everything that you're doing. So that's from the broker level. One step up, let's go to the administrator level. And the administrator has 4 brokers. That administrator can see all 4 of the brokers' pages. The manager of the 4 offices can see each of the offices, each of the administrators, and each of the brokers. The owner of the company can see all the way down. And I think it's pretty obvious how important and how valuable that is as a forecasting tool, and it takes away your need to use a lot of other tools to be able to see what's going on in your business. So I think we built a pretty elegant product. I think it's a very, very useful product. Having been a broker myself for many, many years, I think I'm going to shout out to Laura. Laura Hogle was super helpful to us in making sure that I remembered to dot the I's and cross the T's, and you know how to make sure we got everything we need to get a deal done. So she helped me with the roadmap, and then I went to the programmers, and we spent quite a lot of time together structuring this product. Bonnie Edson is in the back of the room there. Raise your hand, Bonnie. Bonnie has been amazingly helpful, instrumental in building this out. Bonnie and her husband Lars own their own brokerage for many years, knows the process from start to finish, so her input in making sure that all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed has been invaluable, and we've got a product that's up and working. We're not going to charge for it. For right now, we're not going to charge for it. I want to get the companies onboarded. I want to get people using and testing the system, making sure that it's 100%. Then we're going to really nail you. No, we're not going to. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the prices very low, because The purpose of an association is to provide services to its membership. We are a not-for-profit. We have operating expenses. We want to be able to provide more and better services to our membership, and all of those things cost money. But we are a not-for-profit model. So we don't have a group of shareholders that we're beholding to for dividends and revenues. We need to pay our bills. We need to get a return on our investment. But we don't need to be buying, Aston Martins for all the board members just for the chief operating officer. So we're able to keep things very, very affordable and keep your interests primary. So that's what's going on with yachtbroker.org and Boat Docs. There was something I wanted to talk about in the membership category that I forgot to mention. We have an intern working with us right now, Zach Quadrado. Where's Zach? He's out at the front table doing his intern work. Good job. Zach is home here for the summer from FSU, and he's working in the office, and I tasked him with the project of going back into all of our old Compass magazines, and prior to that, all of our old FIBA newsletters. And it's really been a fun stroll down memory lane for me, but what we're doing is we're inputting into the, hi Michelle, we're inputting into the system the actual start dates of all of our members. So what we'll be able to do, there's Zach over there. Raise your hand, Zach. Zach's doing a great job of bringing you all up to speed. So we're assigning the actual joining dates of each of the members, and then when I have all that information assembled, I'll go to the board and we'll talk about some ways to memorialize time periods that people have been members, and I think it's going to be a fun exercise. But what I saw the other day was the January 1988 newsletter that proudly announced that we were up to 127 members. You were one of those members. Yesterday I looked on the system and we have 1,702 members of IYBA worldwide. They're in 37 different countries and they're in 33 different states. So we've really made an impact on the industry, not just the fact that we're a lot of places, but we've made a lot of changes. We've done a lot of very positive and good things. We've had a great surge in membership over the last couple of years. I think people around the industry are seeing the value in the services that we provide. Yachtbroker.org, Boat Docs, our forms. Speaking of forms, we have a segment of the association that is the charter group. We have the committees, Charter Professional Committee and Charter Retail Committee. And as our friend Bob Saxon likes to say, 78% of all yacht owners have chartered in the past. And I continue to remind him that 93% of his statistics are all made up. But the charter segment is very, very important. And David Moss elegantly delivered to us a bareboat charter agreement, a charter certification, a vessel services agreement, and what's the fourth one, Bob? There's another piece to that puzzle as well. There are 4 documents that are necessary for a bareboat charter, and he has also delivered to us a time charter agreement with a vessel services agreement. So now there are IYBA documents for the charter community that nominate the International Yacht Arbitration Council as the definitive dispute resolution platform for any challenges that come up in those contractual agreements. So we have a platform in the industry that we developed at IYBA, specifically purposed with dispute resolution by experts in the industry, with experts in the industry, and it's a more expeditious, theoretically a more reasonable, and more cost-effective solution to dispute resolution. So you don't have to go to AAA and get a soybean farmer and some textile expert to help you negotiate a yacht deal gone bad or a boat deal gone bad. So our forms are robust. We've got a discussion that Adrian's going to give us here in a little bit about some of the changes that we've made in the listing and purchase and sale agreements. Financials are good. Boat shows, we talked about. Health insurance. So a couple of years ago, I got up here and I bragged to everybody that we had IYBA Care, and I was super excited about it. And Mr. Trump had issued an executive order that contradicted the Affordable Care Act, and it allowed us as an association to band together and enjoy large group health benefits. And then a district court judge in Washington, D.C. struck down the executive order, declared it illegal, upheld the ACA. It went into a big battle, and it lasted until Trump was out of office, and then it was no longer an issue, and the ACA is the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. So solutions, my fingers were a little bit singed from all of that, and I think it's important to have solutions for the membership, but we have to have viable solutions, really good solutions. And the Marine Industries Association of South Florida got together with John Galt Insurance and a gentleman who had retired from the insurance industry but re-engaged to put together a package, and he went to the insurance underwriters and said, look, we have a group here that we'd like to mitigate risk. You know, we'd like to have a policy, and they represent a mitigated risk, and we'd like to be able to get some affordable rates. And I watched what they did over at MIASF for a year, and it looked like it was working quite well. So John Galt is the agency. I don't know if Jim is here this morning. Are you here this morning, Jim? Jim Hopgood has been the gentleman who's been overseeing this whole product. It's got healthcare insurance, it's got dental, it's got prescription, it's got all the stuff at a more affordable rate. There are a few caveats. You have to have 5 people in your company. He can explain all that to you. It's been in Compass Magazine. If you weren't aware of it, please look at Compass, please call the office. But there is a healthcare solution, not as awesome as I was really hoping that we could band together as an association to be a large group, but what he has done is basically skin the cat a different way, and we have a healthcare solution for everybody. I asked him the other day, not only for selfish reasons, to see if there was a Medicare supplement that we could incorporate into that as well. So Bob, there's hope for us yet. But that truly is a piece. And look, the fact of the matter is there are several of us here in the room that qualify for that. And I say us. So that's health insurance, the forms we've talked about. CPYB is the Certified Professional Yacht Broker Program. It's overseen by the Certification Advisory Council. Staley Weidman is the ex-chairman. Staley's in here somewhere. Where'd you go? There he is. Staley's right in the middle of the room. Staley's an ex-board member at IYBA. He is the recent past chairman of the CAC. And the CAC is a group of 2 representatives from each of the 7 North American Yacht Brokers Associations. Actually, there's 6, because sadly, the Gulf Coast Yacht Brokers Association sort of evaporated a couple of months ago, and they were absorbed into IYBA. But the CAC developed and administers the CPYB training and the CPYB exam. The CPYB is ostensibly a master's degree in yacht brokerage. So if you are, how many CPYBs do we have here in the room? I like it. I like it. IYBA and IYBA have the highest number of CPYBs. IYBA has the highest penetration because they've got a lower membership than we do. We've got more CPYBs, but we have a larger membership, so our percentage or penetration isn't as high. But I encourage you, if you are a career yacht broker, a serial yacht broker, as the case may be, I encourage you to investigate the CPYB. It's a great program. It is the only certification really available. You know, we have licensing here in the state of Florida, obviously, and that means you've got $500 in a pulse and no active felony warrants. You get to be a yacht broker. So CPYB is the only certification that's out there. And speaking of Chapter 326 of the Yacht and Shipbrokers Act, we've talked about that a lot over the last couple of years. We undertook the desire to modify Chapter 326 in this last year. Chip LaMarca, our local representative from the House of Representatives in the state of Florida, will be here in a little while to give us an update on what's going on legislatively in the state of Florida, sort of a midterm outlook. But Chapter 326 is the statute that regulates all of us. I'm sure most of you can recite it chapter and verse. It's very interesting reading, actually riveting. But what it does is it guides how we're supposed to act as yacht brokers. And it's really very, very loose. So we were able to bring forward to the Senate and the House in the state of Florida in the last session a bill to modify Chapter 326 that the goal was to increase professionalism and enhance consumer protection. It wasn't geared towards making your life more difficult. It was geared at making our industry recognized as a profession. Does anybody here know where in state government they oversee the yacht brokers? It's in the Division of Business and Professional Regulation in the Department of Land Sales, Mobile Homes, and Condominiums. When you scroll down to look for a license, you got to scroll all the way to the bottom. Now, part of that's by virtue of yacht starting with a Y, but it's really how they look at us. I met with the new secretary of the DBPR a couple of weeks ago, and lovely lady, really smart, a lawyer from Tampa. I think she's going to do really great things. She, unfortunately, was just, for lack of a better term, she was clueless as to who we are and what we do. And we have the #2 economic impact in the state of Florida. The last statistic that we had was from the National Marine Manufacturers Association, and recreational boating in the state of Florida has a $23.3 billion economic impact. That's second only to tourism. And I would argue that in 2020 and 2021, we were #1 because there was no tourism and we were on fire and still are. So the recreational boating industry is a huge piece of Florida. I'm working with the University of Florida right now, commissioning a study so that we can ascertain what the real impact is in our segment, and our segment is 32 feet and up. One of the things that we tried to change in the bill was to eliminate the 300-ton limit, which is kind of peculiar, 32 feet to 300 tons, like apples and oranges, and just make it vessels designed for recreational use, for pleasure use. That would also incorporate like charter yachts because they're for pleasure use. So we tried to be elegant in the language. Unfortunately, a representative who sits at the head of the regulation committee out of Naples, a gentleman by the name of Bob Rommel, didn't see clear to understand our message and chose instead to adhere to a very strict dereg platform, which is at the governor's bidding, and I understand that, but we weren't looking for increased regulation. We were looking for enhanced consumer protection. So our bills got shot down. What we have chosen to do is to continue in this vein, but attack it a little bit differently. I think by bringing statistics forward, and I think what we're also going to do, or what we're talking about doing, I shouldn't say I think, what we're talking about doing is soliciting the state of Florida to help us develop a voluntary certification program, and they happen to have a lot of experience with that in the real estate industry. So we as the association and your elected leaders, we're not representatives, we're leaders, the board of directors would view what that certification looks like and make sure that it's something that fits into our industry. And with any luck at all, that would become something that would be brought forward to the state later on as a standard. And we could use that as establishing a professional standard in our industry and enhancing our consumer protections, which is what we were trying to do. But I've learned a lot of very, very interesting things in the process, how different industries operate, how the legal industry deals with escrow accounts versus how we deal with escrow accounts. In the legal industry, escrow accounts are interest-bearing accounts, but there's a mechanism that's incorporated into the banking that all interest from their escrow accounts is swept off into a fund for the public trust so that it's used in the event that an individual in the public has an issue with a lawyer and they can't afford to fight it. There's a public trust for that. Half the people that I know don't even know that you can have, whether you can have interest-bearing account as an escrow account or it has to be a non-interest-bearing account. When I owned my dealership, I was completely convinced that it had to be a non-interest-bearing account. It doesn't. There's no rule about that. So it's interesting the things we learn as we go down this path and how we can find solutions that are beneficial to us as an industry and to the public as well. Those of you that know me, I have a 20-minute segment, and those of you that know me, it takes 20 minutes to introduce myself. So it's fortunate that this morning, it's fortunate and unfortunate. Yacht World is one of our sponsors, has been with us for a very long time, is a very important company in our industry. They provide a service that virtually all of us use. And we like to be able to have them up here to tell you about what updates they've made and what they're doing. We solicited from the audience questions to propose to Courtney, and I filtered them out to the appropriate ones and asked her to answer them. And unfortunately, on Sunday afternoon, she texted me and said, "Bad news, got COVID, not coming." So what we chose to do was to go ahead and eliminate the segment, let a couple of the other ones run a little bit more freely, like mine, and let our break be a little bit longer so you can recover from listening to me. But your questions were heard. Your questions have been put forward, and they will be answered in an email blast to everyone. So it won't be just targeted to who asked the question and you get the answer. What we'll do is we'll post the questions and we'll post the answers to them as well. But that's the situation with Yacht World, and that's why they're not here this morning. Let's see. A quick shout out. Last night, I looked at the registration figures for this event. We were over 190, and when I got up this morning, there were a few more, but I was too tired to count them. So we're right about 200. The largest event we ever had before was the Yacht Sales and the Law Summit in 2020, I think, just before COVID, or 2019. We had 192 people. So this is going to be a record, this event, at over 200 people. And number one on the list is Denison Yachting. Last night they had 27 people registered. That's a strong showing. That's a very strong showing. 27. Put your hands up, people from Denison. How many Denison folks do we have? Look at them all in the back of the room. Now, why doesn't that surprise me? With Mike Burke leading the charge back there. Marine Max. Put your hands up, Marine Max. 17 people from Marine Max last night. I'm going to say it's 19 or 20. And number 3, but coming in hot, HMY. Put your hands up. Laura Hogle. Everybody knows Laura Hogle. She's right there. We had, yes, Laura Hogle has been at, have you ever missed one of these? And we love it. We love it. That is what I call an example. There's a lady who knows more about what goes on in this industry than anybody else I know. And how does she do that? She keeps coming and she keeps learning. And that's the quest I challenge all of you to do. Keep coming, keep learning, stay engaged, read your Compass magazine, ask questions. There are no questions that we're not willing to answer. I may dance around it a little bit. You know, I was a salesman for a long time. But the reality of it is we're here to serve you. We appreciate your membership. We appreciate your participation and your